Philippe's, or Philippe the Original, is a restaurant located in Los Angeles, California that opened in 1908. Philippe Mathieu was born in 1877 in France, where he started out in a deli in southern France before moving to Algeria to work as an apprentice cook. He spent a year in the French army and then saved up enough money to immigrate to the United States. Mathieu immigrated from France to Buffalo, New York in 1901, where he would find early work cooking in American lumber camps and hotels. In 1903, he decided to move to Los Angeles. He opened a deli with his brother Arbin for $150 at 617 Alameda, the first in a series of businesses that Mathieu would open in a neighborhood known as the Frenchtown neighborhood. It was later razed to build the Los Angeles City Hall. In 1908, he opened his first Philippe's restaurant at 300 North Alameda Street, where he served roast beef, roast pork, roast lamb, liver pate, and blood sausage. After a stint owning the deli on Alameda, Philippe and his brother Arbin opened the New Poodle Dog restaurant on Spring Street in 1911, a reference to the old Poodle Dog restaurant in San Francisco. The New Poodle Dog would last for less than 2 years, closing in 1913. The Mathieu brothers opened another white tablecloth restaurant on Alameda Street, just south of Aliso Street, the heart of Frenchtown. Philippe's customers often referred to him as Frenchie and took to calling the restaurant Frenchies. Philippe's, mispronouncing Philippe's as Felipe, is in a way fitting for one of LA's oldest restaurants. Philippe moved his eatery to 246 Aliso Street, south of Los Angeles Street in 1918, again still in Frenchtown's original footprint. That year, he began serving a sandwich we now call the French dip. The story of how the sandwich came to be invented varies depending on who told it and when. In 1908, the two restaurants, Kohl's Pacific Electric Buffet being their competitor, less than a mile from each other in downtown Los Angeles, declared that a new type of sandwich, the French dip, had been invented in their respective kitchens. Philippe's official story goes like this. In 1918, Philippe Mathieu was carving a roast beef sandwich for a fireman, and the bread accidentally dropped into the roasting pan, which was filled with hot juices from the oven. Another rendition of the story bases the invention in frugality. A fireman came into the restaurant when there were leftover rolls, which Mathieu would use up, although they were stale. The fireman complained that the roll was dry, so Philippe dipped it in juice, basically to get rid of the customer. This alternative is plausible since Mathieu may have preferred to credit a customer rather than waste a stale roll. Another story says it was a police officer rather than a fireman. That story goes, one day a police officer asked me if I mind splitting one of these large loaves of French bread and filling it with some of the delicious roast pork, said Mathieu. I was not too busy, so I said sure. Then he asked me, please cut it in half, and I've got a friend outside who can eat it. Then he asked for some pickles, onions, and olives, and the police still said he'd take the sandwich and left. The next day, the same police officer returned with some friends, asking for more dipped sandwiches. In 1951, Mathieu told the Los Angeles Times reporter, one day a customer saw some gravy in the bottom of a large pan of roast meat. He asked me if I would mind dipping one side of the French roll in that gravy. I did, and right away 5 or 6 others wanted the same. He quickly ran out of gravy, but he said it would put me wise. The next day he had a gallon of gravy ready, but so many people wanted dipped sandwiches that he still ran out. Either way, the sandwich was born and awaited its dip. Originally, Mathieu referred to it as a dipped sandwich. This restaurant was colloquially known as Frenchies, which eventually developed into a French dip sandwich. In 1925, to avoid frequent rent increases, Mathieu bought his own property at 364 Aliso Street. Philippe's had promised his wife that he'd retire when he turned 50. He did indeed retire in 1927 at 50. 2 years later, he sold the restaurant to a lawyer whose name is unknown, who failed at running the restaurant. A few months later, in 1927, Mathieu bought back the restaurant and sold it to the brothers, Harry David and Frank Martin, who were in the business of renting horses and wagons from their jewel stables when they purchased Philippe's from Mathieu for around $5,000. After selling the restaurant to the Martin brothers, Mathieu moved back to France with his wife. From 1927 to 1941, Philippe's was open 24 hours a day. Philippe's closed on July 2, 1951, and reopened in its current location in September of the same year. In 1951, the Martins moved Philippe's to its present location at 1001 North Alameda Street, which was an old machine shop with a hotel on the second floor. The location is just north of the Union Station on the southern edge of Chinatown, 2 blocks north of Olvera Street and close to Union Station due to the construction of the new Hollywood Freeway, the 101. Mathieu died in 1960 at the age of 72. The Martins and their in-laws, the Binders, have run Philippe's ever since. John and Richard Binder took over running the restaurant following the retirement of their father, William Bill Binder, in 1985. Philippe's serves cans of soft drinks, freshly brewed iced tea, lemonade, coffee, select wines, and beer. Homemade wine was once available, and the current owner, a wine aficionado, added a small selection of California wines to the menu. Over 1,900 sandwiches are sold per day at their location. Philippe's was famous for serving cups of regular coffee for 9 cents, in honor of the old-fashioned prices. On January 25, 2012, it was announced that on February 2nd, the price would be raised to 45 cents. Prior to this, the price was last raised from 5 cents in 1977. On its 85th, 90th, 95th, and 100th anniversaries, French dip sandwiches were sold for 10 cents and coffee for 5 cents for a few hours during its celebration. Andrew Binder, the new managing partner and 4th-generation owner of Philippe's, says what makes the restaurant so special is the prime cuts of beef that they use and the serious volume of meat they roast each day. On a very slow day, we're probably doing at least 400 to 500 pounds of beef, so all those juices and all those drippings that we're roasting, they're collecting in our roasting pans, he says. When walking through the doors, you'll see their unique setup. Philippe's has 10 servers that they refer to as carvers. The carvers are stationed at a long display counter with 10 lines. Once you reach your carver, everything else is done from there. Your carver has everything needed to take your order, make your order, and give it to you right there on the spot. Today, Philippe's is famous for its sawdust-covered floors and its lunch counter ordering style. Customers still queue up in long lines to order from one of the many waitresses buzzing about behind the glass-fronted deli counter, showcasing pies, pickled eggs, and potato salad. So what do you remember about this place? Leave a comment or a suggestion for a future video below. And if you haven't already, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, bringing back memories from the good old days. That's super cool, man.